Welcome, everyone, to Coffee with a Codex. My name is Dot Porter. I am a curator here in the Schoenberg Institute for Manuscript Studies and the Kislak Center for Special Collections, Rare Books and Manuscripts at the University of Pennsylvania Libraries. SIMS is a research and development institute. We have some great manuscripts on the shelf. We also do a lot of digital projects. It's one of our major things. But one of my favorite things to do is this program where every Thursday at noon, I take a book and show it to you. And we just talk about it. It's very informal. If you've been here before, you know the drill. It's great to see you. If you're new, you're welcome. I'm glad you're here. Please go ahead and type in the chat as I go. I'll be watching it. My colleague Amy Hutchins is also on here, and she'll be watching the chat as well. So yeah, without further ado, our manuscript today is this Illuminated Missal, oversized MS Codex 2076. Oversized because it's big, it's tall. When we say oversized, it's basically an internal thing. It means that they go on a shelf, on a special set of shelves that are taller than our regular shelves. So different institutions will have oversized books in different areas, and this one goes there. It also happens to be very thick, and it's also really heavy. The boards are made of wood. There is wood, solid wood boards inside here. So it is a chonky boy, if I may use that phraseology. Nick Herman does not like it when I talk like that, but I'm gonna talk like that anyway. So MS Codex 2076, it's an illuminated missal. It was written in Italy in the late 15th century, and we have some kind of specific things that allow us to date it these dates. So let me see if I can find the date. So it was written after the establishment of the Feast of the Transfiguration, and that happened in 1456. So it mentions that feast here. So we know it was after 1456, and it was probably before the canonization of Saint Bonaventure, which was in 1482, because Saint Bonaventure is not in the calendar. So I'll go ahead and open it up. I'll talk about this a little bit later. But it opens with a calendar, the calendar being a map of the church year. So this is the calendar for, this should be January. And it starts the year, and what these lines are the days, these are the days of the year. And various saints are going to be mentioned. So here is Saint Gregory, Pope Gregory, right? So this is the day that we celebrate Pope Gregory. And oh, this is March. Thank you, Lisa Fagan Davis, everyone. Thank you, Lisa. So this is March. Oh yeah, it says Martius up there. So January, February is missing. So we have March and then April. And I see now that it says April here. So one of the ways that you can both date and locate manuscript, that is, figure out where and when it was written, is by which saints are here. And so the fact that we would expect to see Saint Bonaventure in a manuscript like this and he's not there means it was probably written before then. So this was like a 30-year period when it could have been written. So we start out with the calendar here. And so a missal, what's a missal? A missal, M-I-S-S-A-L, is the liturgical book that includes all of the texts, everything that you need to do the Mass. So it's like a mass book. So at some point we're going to get there in here. And there's a lot of other things too. So if you go to the record, it has the full table of contents. So let's take a look here. Yes, and it even says the calendar goes March through December. So that's me not paying attention. So here we go. Let's zoom in a little bit here so we can take a little closer look. We've got some really nice pen work. I like this one that we're going to get to some illumination. So there is some gold There's some beautiful stuff going on. But here we just have pen work. And if you've been here before, you have seen other manuscripts that look very similar to this. We have sections with larger initials sort of starting the sections, and we're going back and forth between blue and red. This is really typical. We see this not only in books from Italy, but in books from England and books from France. This was a really common way to sort of organize the text. And around the letters, we have pen work of the sort of opposite color. So in this case, we have red around the blue, and then we have kind of purple around the red. It's really kind of pretty. And this, the book is on parchment that is treated animal skin. And here we can sort of see a patch of some discoloration in the skin itself. It looks like those are get a little bit closer. There's some hair follicles there, like a little patch. So that's kind of neat to see, a reminder of the origination of the thing we're looking at. All right, so let's go through a little bit. We're going to see a little bit more color. I don't know how well it comes across here. And just a second, I'm going to go get my book snake so I can hold this open. We've got some rubrication over here. I'm going to take this out. Apologies if this makes anyone ill, but it's a little difficult to make this go all the way down there because there is some yellow. You can just see it here. There's a little bit of yellow that's been kind of put in as a kind of extra decorative part of these smaller, large initials that are the start of the sentence, right? So not only do we have the large colored initials at the start of the section, but we also have this little bit of yellow in there to tell us that we are at the start of a new sentence. So another way that the scribe has used color to help us keep track of where we are in the text. All right, am I out of focus now? What happened? There we go. All right. Now I want to find some illumination because this does have, I think, a pretty good number. It's got like 40 illuminated initials. So let's get there. I've seen that Amy has been in the chat. But again, if you want to say something, don't hesitate to put it. Oh, okay. All right, you guys can watch the page while I actually load. The book is so big, it's actually tough to get this to work. All right, so here's our first illuminated initial here. And this is going to be God. 12 verso. We have God on 12 verso. So he is dressed in a dark blue robe. He's got gold in his folds. So that's the folds of the, yeah. Gina says, wow, I think it's pretty great. I mean, the gold around it is really nice too. He has a halo. We've got the gold halo around his head. And he's holding this object in his hand, and that's the world. He's got the whole world in his hands. And there he is. And then he's got the sort of peace, sign of peace held up in his right hand. So that's God. And I think just on the next page, now we're going to get more coming together. So here is the Virgin Mary and Jesus there. And then the adoration of the Virgin is on the facing page. So this is just another sort of, not stylized, but it's another typical way that we see Mary and baby Jesus interacting. So over on this page, she is holding him in her arms as his mother, and then over here she is sort of praying to him, as acknowledging him as God. And then you can see behind them, so this is his birth. They are in the stable, and we have some animals, and then there's the star up above. And Lisa asks a great question. She says, they don't match the text, are they later? And I am going to comment and see. So it doesn't say in the record, I love saying this, it doesn't say in the record that they're later, but that doesn't mean that they're not later. It just means that whoever did the cataloging didn't recognize them as being later. So that I would actually be interested to know more. I don't know. And this is a thing we're going back, and I mentioned before we started, by the way, that last 2 years ago, well, 2022, Nick Herman did a copy with a codex of this manuscript. And Nick Herman is actually an art historian who specializes in Italian illuminated manuscripts. And I am neither of those things. I'm a book historian and a digital humanist who does this because it's fun. So it would be interesting to see if he said anything about the dating of the initials. Right. So Lisa's saying she would guess that the historiation might be later, not the leaves and gold. That is that the gold leaf, and I think this portion here was original. And so Lisa is suggesting that the initials were left blank and that somebody came and added these later. I don't know, but I would be really interested in someone looking more into that. So this gets into the sort of the practice of how the book was made originally. So it's not like one person came through and did everything, right? There would have been a scribe or perhaps multiple scribes who wrote the text, and that they would have left blank spaces for all of the initials. And either they would have come back in, or another scribe could have come in and done these sort of colored initials, the blue and red, and then maybe someone else even would have done the pen work, right? There was this involved. And then someone else would have come in and done the painting and the gold work, and then filled in this at the end. And so what Lisa is suggesting is it got to a point where it was mostly done except for the interior of the initials. And then later someone else came and added them. So, right. Amy says if you're seeing different sizes of script, the Psalms and the versicles are written in smaller letters. So I think, are we looking here? So here is slightly smaller text, and then this is slightly larger text. So that would have been part of the program, part of the planning of this. Yeah, Maria is saying the colors. Yeah, it's really beautiful. So I didn't say who that was. That's Saint Stephen, and then we have Saint John the Evangelist coming up here. So let's zoom in a little bit here. Lisa, I'm curious, have you seen this manuscript before? Or is this your first time? Oh, I love the gold. It's so pretty. Yeah, too recent an acquisition. Yes, this is a very recent acquisition. So this is 2076, I think. And we're in the 2000s now. So this is St. John. Yeah, this is St. John the Evangelist. He's got the eagle. There's his eagle right there. So there's St. John. Let's see. And here is the Massacre of the Innocents. So we've got a baby, we've got a knife, not a nice not a nice scene, but a beautiful, beautiful initial. Yeah, Amy says it purchased it in 2022. So when Nick presented this, it must have been right after we purchased it, maybe right after it was cataloged, which we like to do. So we've had it for a little bit now. There we go. I'm afraid of hitting the camera with the leaf when I turn the page. So let's pull this up. I noticed as I was turning through too that there are catchwords. So if I see another catchword, I'm going to stop and talk about that. So here is someone with a Pope hat. This is going to be, oh, this is St. Thomas Becket. All right. It says St. Thomas Becket. I don't know enough about saints to know if you would expect to see St. Thomas Becket in a 15th century Italian manuscript. I think of him as English, but maybe so. Let's see if we can get him a little bit closer. Lisa says, yes, he belongs there. Okay, thank you. Oh, there we go. They're really nice. Let me see if I can, just to give you, there's my finger, so you can see how small that is. Somebody did really nice detail work there. It's really, really nice. Yeah, Lisa says, I would love to know what Nicholas thinks about these scenes. I should have invited him to come today, but then I realized he already looked at it and I felt kind of embarrassed. He's always been very kind to me, by the way. There's no reason I would be embarrassed to present in front of him. All right. Thomas Becket. Now we have another Virgin and Child here. So let's the halos and I like how there's a lot of background, even though there's not here. All right, Lisa says, which feast is this? Let's see where we are. So this is on 20 recto. 20 recto. Oh, it doesn't, we don't have a detailed table of contents, but maybe if I zoom out a little bit, you can see, I don't know if there's enough information here, Lisa, for you to see what feast we're in. The table of contents goes from 6 verso to 122 verso. So, all right, the octave of nativity. All right, so that makes sense why we would have Mary and the baby. So Lynn says, is Becket included because his martyrdom happened in January after the slaughter of the innocents? I'm gonna see if Lisa knows the answer to that. Lisa says yes. Great. Oh, look at this one. This is beautiful. There's just a lot going on. Let's see. This is, looks like the adoration of the Magi, and that is what that is. And we've got the star. I love this because it's sort of immediately recognizable to sort of any, like if you had shown this to me when I was a little kid, you know, I was raised in the Episcopal Church, so I would have recognized this immediately. I don't know what that is. It's really nice. All right. See, and I think we are a bit 130. Okay, so we've got a while to go because we are on 37 and there's not going to be another illuminated initial until 130, which is quite a bit. So I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. While I do, I'm going to point out whatever is interesting to me. So here is an earlier page number here. here in ink. We added page numbers down at the bottom, but there's that. So Lisa is saying there's the spine. Is that here? Is that what this is? Is this the spine? All right, so here is the spine of whatever, I guess it's probably a calf. So this is calf skin, and the parchment is a little bit darker right along the line of the spine. And so you can imagine the animal, this sheet would have been cut from sort of across the top. And then it would have been, if you don't know how parchment was made, the skin would have been treated with lye and various other things, and then stretched on a frame and scraped. So all of the fat and hair and everything would be scraped off. But we still, on very, very fine parchment, you you sometimes can't tell the difference between the hair side, which would have been the outside, and the flesh side. But in this case, we can. And Lisa points out that if we can find the conjoin, we can find the other half. And I'm thinking that I don't know if this is the conjoin right here, if we're in the middle of the choir. It's bound pretty tightly. But this looks like there's spine here. Yeah, so that's very cool. And I see that people have been chatting, and I haven't been paying super attention. Let's see. Claire says the overall composition of each page is so elegant. It really is. Oh, Mathilde put a link to parchment making in the chat, if you want to see that. And why is the illumination top heavy? Oh, and Amy points out it's concentrated around particular feasts. So there are going to be feasts that have more illumination than others. So that's why we have this section that has around, she points out, around Christmas. And then we're going to skip along to that to see more of them. So let's see, now we're at 73. So we go quite a long ways, but we can still see some more of that. Oh, yes. And because we're in a missal, one of the things we're going to see that we don't always see in other, like if we were looking at a book of hours, for example, that is, we're going to start seeing music. So Lisa points out that we're in so there are two sections to the missal, or not, I mean, two sections. There's the temporale is the movable feasts. So these are feasts that move around that aren't for saints. Like saints are on particular days, and then you have holidays that are on specific days. And so temporal feasts aren't going to have, or the movable feasts don't have sort of saints attached to them. So it's not as attractive to make, like, what are you going to draw if you don't have a saint? Like if you have a saint, there's a person and you can make illuminations of them. And then here we get music. So we're going to see music. It looks recognizably as music, although it looks different from modern music. There is a staff. They have 4 lines instead of the modern 5 line, and then the notations. So Jenna is asking, is that music only seen in missals? So you see music in other kinds of books as well. So not only in missals. This music in particular, I think even this music you would see it in other books too, in other liturgical books. I guess it depends on, I don't know exactly what each of these is specifically, but no, you see music in other places. And in fact, we do have a book of hours in our collection that has music in it, which is unusual, but it is a thing. I can't say that you never have books of hours that have music in them. It's just unusual. Okay, so Lisa says missals don't tend to have a lot of music because they're for use for the priest. That's true. Choir books will have, let me see. Choir books, antiphonals, and graduals are entirely music. Yeah. So this has some music, but not a lot of music. And I'm at 135. So let's see if we can find 130. And here we go. And we're at a whole new section. We have a whole new section. So this section is ending, and at 130, we start the canon of the Mass. So that was the sequences, was the music, and now we have the canon of the Mass. And you can tell that it's the canon of the Mass here because we have a priest and he's got the Eucharist. He's got the Eucharist there, and he's got his an acolyte behind him, and he's got his book, his missal there, a little bit meta there on the table. I know it's not called a table. I can't think of what yeah. So there was a question about whether or not this was different books bound together. Altar, thank you, Yvonne. It is the altar, and it's not. It's the same scribe and artists all throughout. Or scribes and artists. All right. So now we have some more. Let's see. 130. We're going to have 134. Here we go. And this is the resurrection. So that is Jesus. And he is looking a little bit martial in that he is coming up with the cross and the flag and looking very alive there. So Jenna asks what instrument the music was for. It would have been sung. It would have been sung. Some of it would have been sung in responses. So you might have the priest singing something and then the choir singing something like that. But there wouldn't have been any kind of, it would have been, as folks in the chat are saying, it would have been a cappella. There wouldn't have been any kind of accompaniment for it. All right. Oh gosh, and I haven't been paying attention to the time. So we have about a minute. So let's find at least one more, because I think we're going to jump a little bit. 144 is Ascension. So let's come here. I hope you can hear that. It's a lovely sound, the turning pages. So here we have the Ascension, and I love images of the Ascension because here's Jesus, he's going up to heaven, and there's his feet at the top. That's his feet, and everybody's watching him go up. And again, they're so nicely drawn with their colorful robes and the gold there. Yeah, Jesus's feet up the top. But you know what's happening? There's no doubt he's going up there. So I'm sorry we didn't get very far, but the whole thing is digitized. I have seen Amy putting the link in the chat, so you can follow that to the record, and you can see all of the digital images, all of these. This is great. Thank you, Lisa, for being here and providing so much more information than I do. I love the idea of maybe the initials having been added. And so maybe we'll look at that a little bit. And I hope you all will come back next week. It's always great. Thanks, everyone. So we will see you again soon, and take care.